In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, Season 4. Let's go, baby. Yeah. There was a time I had trouble talking about it. Congratulate them, we know they doubted. Somehow we made it up out the pit, back against the wall, never quit. Traversing through each obstacle, show a non-believer what's possible. Let nothing they could do stand in between me and my wildest dreams. Let's go. And that come at us could come in between. Life gave me the worst, yet my side grew so green. We've been down in the dirt, been tossed in the trash, but I never strayed from my path. When we're gone, we ain't looking back.
Maybe we were all way too high. Maybe that's our fault.
It's going to be a crazy time, but it's going to be a fun time.
Life is boring if you don't take some chances and do some things outside the box.
Your destination for both some feel-good lifestyle advice and some fantasy football advice. All right. It is Feel Good Friday, September 16th, baby. Week 2 coming your way. Seth Woolcock, Nate Pulvote here to deliver the Friday good vibes. Today we have an absolutely loaded show for you. We got our Thursday night football recap. We also are going to do some start sits and, of course, some sure thing sleepers of the week. And Nate, we have some loaded guests on the dock, my friend.
We do. We have got one of my favorite people, and this is why I love Twitter, because I would, in a normal world, I would have never gotten to meet this person. Michael Stoyanov. You know him from Billions recently. He was also on Blossom. Dark Knight. First person to die in the Dark Knight, which is, hey, we get to talk to this guy about football today. And then following him up, we have Pat Fitzmaurice from FantasyPros. Probably needs no introduction. One of my favorite people again. This is a great show today.
Dude, absolutely. I am so stoked to be back again. Another Friday show. And belated Roberto Clemente Day to you, Nate. That was yesterday. Pittsburgh folks, Pennsylvania folks. We celebrated it over here. I hope you did as well out there in Denver, my friend.
One of the all-time greats gone far too soon, man. Far too soon.
Absolutely. And guys, before we get started and we talk a little bit about Thursday night football, I just wanted to remind you, if you are new to the show today, please give us a like, give us a subscribe. It's the easiest way to continue to help us grow here at IBT Media. As always, wanted to thank Kyle for being in the back end, our audio editor. And Nate, we are oh so close to 300 subscribers, my friend.
So close. So close. We're going to get there today. I feel it.
You're going to get there soon. When we do, we will do a little IBT giveaway as well. Good to see Smokey the cat here. Smokey, we're going to get to your questions just here in a little bit. We have a whole start sit segment for you, so just hang around. But first, Nate, let's go ahead and introduce our first guest. This is a man who he was on the hit series Blossom, a 1990, really what I would call a trend-setting television show. And not only was he there, he was on everyone's favorite Beverly Hills 90210, crushed that. He's crushed The Dark Knight. He's crushed everything he's been on. And now he's going to crush some fantasy football for us today. Good friend of the show. Welcome in, Mike Stoyanov. What's up, Mike?
Oh, my God. Oh, thank you. I mean, that's an amazing introduction. And speaking of introductions, best main titles and opening song in the fantasy podcast arena.
That.
And I've been on three different podcasts, so I think I know what I'm talking about.
You've been around.
I love your main titles. I listen to that at the gym when I'm working out. Like, I just
there
love
we go.
Song.
There we go. We appreciate
Awesome.
that, man. That's our guy,
Sure.
Nate Miller. Mike, how are you doing today, man? What's been up since last time we've seen you?
Well, I'm in LA, as you can maybe see behind me. I'm doing a renovation on my place here. That's why there's like a primer. There's a primer mark right there. And,
okay, there you go.
Yeah, just sort of like hanging out. Anxious to get back to New York. I'm repping Brooklyn. So, this is just a brief sojourn, and I'm going to get this place re-rented and then get back to the wife and in New York City.
Hey, man, LA's not too bad of a place for a little getaway.
I mean, it was almost too hot. Not almost. It literally was too hot for the last. It was like 100 degrees for like 6 straight days. A friend of mine actually went to Vegas for the weekend during that stretch. It was a great idea. You're going to melt. I love this weather. I love like nice, hot, sunny days and cloudless skies. And like, yeah, this is the kind of like thing where it's hard to sort of like mount a serious argument that like LA sucks, because it's like it's a beautiful day in September. It's like 78 degrees. It's perfect.
That is perfect.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Mike, what did you think? Just like that was the first Amazon Prime Video experience last night. So we had a couple different options. You could have watched the main telecast. Dude Perfect had a telecast, I believe, as well. There's the All 22 telecast. So a lot of options. How was just the overall watching experience for you last night as a fan?
For Thursday night?
Yes.
I mean, it was. I guess I went old school. I went with the Amazon, and it had Al Michaels and
Yep.
what is it? Who is it? It's not Herb Street, is it? Who's the
Herb
new
Street.
guy?
Yep.
Oh yeah, I like him. I liked the combo. The game was good. The Herbert issue in that fourth quarter was deeply concerning, and like I didn't really like. I've watched the Manning on that's Monday night, right? A few times, and like it's interesting, and like honest to God, that really I don't pay a whole lot of attention to the guys jabbering away, like but I had a good time. It was a great game, and it was fun to watch, and I didn't get like murderized too bad by like rival players, and like it was just a fun night. I didn't have anyone. I debated like Pacheco versus Pierce. And then I was like, what am I doing? First of all, that's if I'm already having that debate in week 2, like that could be a little trouble here, frankly. But like, it was like, why was I even considering Pacheco? I pulled him. So at least I avoided that. Like, I didn't Robinson myself this week. So on Thursday. So yeah, it was a good night all around.
It's glad to hear it, man. It was a fantastic night as a viewer, as a fantasy football fan. Maybe not as high scoring as we thought. 27-24. Chiefs take this one. A very back and forth affair, though. The Chargers, they were down. They were down, but they were not out. Credit to Justin Herbert. The guy is absolutely gutsy. Gritty performance from him. He goes out. It's a 3rd and 1. He looks like he can't even run the ball a yard. Comes back on the 4th and 1 and puts an absolute laser down the field. Ice in that guy's veins, man. You got to feel bad too for the Chargers because they almost had the onside kick.
Right.
Could have been there, but we appreciate them. It was a really good performance overall, but Mike Williams looks like he was the one who stole the show, guys, at least as far as fantasy football is concerned. Goes 8 for 113 and 1. It was really cool to see him used in so many different ways in this one. I don't know if that's just a factor of Keenan Allen being out and them game planning him in a little more. But Nate, what did you think of Mike Williams on the night?
I don't know. He wasn't great week 1. They just didn't use him. Okay. The guy had 129 targets last season. Like, he's not just going to fade off into the ether unless he's hurt. This week, especially with Keenan Allen out, you knew he was going to get volume. I'm not surprised. I thought he'd be above 8 catches. I thought he'd sit around 10 to 11. They didn't use him as much as I thought, but he was a safe play this week. And I think going forward, he's probably a wide receiver 2 rest of the season. I mean, that's who he is on this team.
I think he's starting to do a lot of wide receiver stuff better. Like, he's running routes better. He's not as unidimensional as he was. Like, the catch, I mean, he's great with contested balls, but usually when they're 10 feet in the air, that catch he made going around the guy for the touchdown and like that one-hander, that was revelatory. That was like new Mike Williams. It was like, wow. Like, yeah, he looks good to me. I wish I had him. I'd be playing him probably.
Yeah.
Almost every week, not every week.
We want to see more of that. I think that's the takeaway from this is we need to see him more utilized when Keenan Allen is back in the fold. But Justin Herbert, a brilliant night from him. Gutsy performance, as we talked about, 23 fantasy points for him once again. Delivers as your QB1, 33 for 48, 334 yards. Of course, the one costly pick 6 there down in the red zone. I blame that more on maybe just game management, not calling a timeout. Yeah. But did you see Everett like tapping his helmet too? He wanted out of that game. Yeah. He was gassed 2 plays in a row.
Yeah, but I mean, they run a fast offense, and like you can't be gassed. Like,
right?
Yeah.
Like Denzel Washington and Remember the Titans, that guy'd be running all day in practice. Like you can't be that. You're a professional. This is the top level. Like we need you not to be gassed in that situation.
That's
and then to me, the cardinal sin, like it happens, I get it, but zero chase to the guy. Like he just stood there afterwards. Like, and I hate to be some like armchair guy, like commenting on a world-class athlete, but at least run after that guy. Like he
sat there and picked up his mouthpiece. Yeah.
I mean, it was just a bad look there for him more so than Herbert, but it was also not a great throw. And the low light of the night for that whole team.
I think that's fair for you to be critical of him. He is a professional athlete. He is playing with some of the best athletes in the world. So you do need to be, get up and go. Nice performance for him overall as far as fantasy is concerned. 6 for 71. I know a lot of people kind of use him as a spot start. Maybe a George Kittle this week. You weren't so sure about him. I did a couple places. Austin Eckler, pretty nice night for him as well. 9 for 55 through the air, 14 and 39 on the ground. I was sweating out his reception prop total for a little while there, and then he dropped that one. And I thought, oh man, here we go again. I'm going to be one short here, but he got it done. They went to him a lot at the end of the game. Good to see. Nate, any other takeaways for the Chargers here? Obviously, Josh Palmer, he went 4 for 30 and a touchdown as well. I know a lot of people were gassing him up on Twitter over the week.
All of these offenses are going to be interesting, and we're in week 2, so we're learning more and more about what the usage is going to be. I don't know that we can expect Palmer to get 4 catches regularly. He's going to be a guy who in a spot start, you hope he gets a touchdown. And I'm a little bit concerned about Eckler that he just didn't get the volume until they were trying to get down the field quickly. If they're not in that type of situation, are we not going to see as much Eckler as we think?
We did see Sony Michel get 4 carries. We did see Josh Kelly involved as well. So definitely interesting. No Isaiah Spiller yet so far in the early season. He hasn't done much. Mike, any final takeaways on the Chargers here?
Just in touching on what Nate said, Palmer's definitely is a sit for me. Like going forward, like that was a golden opportunity, and he got bailed out by that touchdown at the very end of the game. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, I think you guys, you did a really nice job on the overview of that game entirely. I have nothing further to add.
Appreciate it. We'll just quickly brush on the Chiefs. It was kind of a disappointing overall matchup for them. Mahomes, 24 for 35, 235 yards, 2 touchdowns. But it was really Justin Watson and Jared McKinnon who kind of got it done for them. Kelsey held in check, 5 for 51. Disappointing night for him. Disappointing night for Juju Smith-Schuster as well. 3 for 10. So he really let a lot of people down after a pretty nice week 1. Nate, any concern, or has your outlook at least changed on Juju and Kelsey a little bit, or are you just kind of scrapping that up to a good Chargers defense?
Well, I think part of it is a good Chargers defense. J.C. Jackson finally got on the field for them this week. But also, I'm kind of concerned about the wide receivers. I'm not concerned about Travis Kelce, but I don't know that we're going to see one receiver take over this offense.
A lot of MVS last night. I mean,
a lot of MVS, but then we're going to see weeks where we see more Mecole Hardman. We'll see other weeks where we see more Smith-Schuster. I don't know that you can – maybe Smith-Schuster is the guy that you can put out there that'll get some consistent volume. But even him, I'm a little bit worried about rolling out some weeks. It's gonna depend on the defensive matchup. He's not a smash start. None of these guys are a smash start outside of Kelsey, really, receiving wise.
Yeah. What about CH, Mike? Is he a smash start moving forward, or is this an opportunity to sell high on him? He goes 8 for 74 on the ground, 4 for 44 in the air, 15.8 points for him last night off of 22-pointer in week 1. He's building momentum. Is this your chance to capitalize on it, Mike?
I mean, he's certainly looking a lot better than he ever has before, to start this season. It's like, but I'm not sure you want to let go of that guy because it's just a case where it's like a guy has finally figured it out and like he's about to live up to the potential that he was a first rounder, right? Or was he second rounder? He was a high draft pick for a running back in this era. And they obviously had expected a lot from him. He's starting to live up to it. I think that he's clearly a cut above everyone else. He's I don't know if I think you're right. You could sell high right now, but the question is, do you want to? This could be, you could have gotten yourself a little steal here in your draft with this guy. And then I agree with you 100%, Nate. I just don't. This receiving core is just going to be like an ensemble play. It's not going to be there's no. It's going to. If one emerges, it's going to be like a late season situation where Juju comes on or, MVS emerges. Yeah. But for the next 4 to 8 weeks, I don't know how you could possibly predict week to week who's going to be the guy beyond, like you said, Kelsey.
I just don't think there is one. You see, what if CH ends up being the guy?
Yeah.
He's getting targeted in the passing game a fair amount. He had 2 receiving touchdowns last week.
Same thing could be happening in Green Bay, and I have a feeling we'll get to that later. Is a running back going to emerge as the sort of go-to guy for that QB? We'll see.
Great points, guys. I think we're closing the book on Thursday Night Football. Let's go ahead and move into our Sunday slate here with our matchup management section.
Yay.
Who you got?
Matchup management.
Who's it gonna be?
All right, and as people continue to file in here over on the YouTube, if you guys do have any start-sit questions, any other fantasy-related questions, Mike, Nate, and myself would love to take them for you. But let's go ahead and start with the quarterbacks here in Week 2. There were some real stinkers in Week 1, and maybe none bigger than Aaron Rodgers. But he returns home against the Chicago Bears. Nate, you and I have kind of exhausted our conversation on the Bears. They've lost a lot of defensive players. We don't really know how good this defense is because of the monsoon last weekend. Are you comfortable, my friend, starting Aaron Rodgers versus the Bears here in Week 2?
Yeah, I think so. He can't be as bad as he was. I mean, Minnesota's a good team too. Like, don't forget about that. Also, don't forget they got beat 38-3 Week 1 last year by the Saints. This probably doesn't mean much. Aaron Rodgers doesn't play in the preseason. This is a good point Colin Cowherd made. He didn't develop any chemistry with these young guys on this offense. He was kind of around. He didn't come to OTAs. He didn't play in the preseason. This is the first time he got to really be in this offense this season without Devontae Adams. I think he's fine against Chicago. I think I'm really actually high on starting him against Chicago because rain or not, this defense is just, they're putrid.
Mike, your take on Aaron Rodgers here. Are you firing him up with confidence here in Week 2?
Yeah, Nate said a lot of things I wanted to say, but there's so much going on here, I feel like, with this one. And on top of it all, I'm from Chicago and a Bears fan, so I'm sure like I'm going to be skewed just like emotionally. He's definitely borderline for me in a 10-team or a 12-team 1 QB league. Obviously, in a super flex or a 2 QB, if you have someone better than Aaron Rodgers for your QB2, how the hell did you do that? I don't love it. I think that, again, he just goes to town against Chicago, though, generally speaking. And I think no Adams is huge. And I think, they may be able to win other ways, and that defense, I think, is going to, like you said, Chicago's defense is bad. Chicago's offensive line is awful, too. I think they may be able to keep that team down, deeply down, on offense. Packers on defense, I mean, and they may not need to score too much, and they may need just to gobble up clock, and they have a great running back duo. He's not a strong start for me, but if you don't have, I'd start Lance over him. I'd start Ryan over him.
Okay.
But
those are good names.
I don't, just to say guys, not the big six. Obviously, you're not going to bench one of those guys for Rodgers, but other guys that are sort of in the conversation, I would start over Rodgers, and I would start the two other guys we're going to talk about here over Rodgers this week, although one of them very trepidatiously. But he's a borderline start for me, just based on his history against Chicago and the fact that he's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
So just real quick, last season he scored a negative 8.18 fantasy points against New Orleans. The next week against Detroit, he put up 40 points.
Well, the thing I was going to say, but you gobbled it up. It's the most the get well Week 2. History is dying to repeat itself here. Because exactly this is what happened last year, and everyone was like, "Oh, Aaron Rodgers, he's fine." And you couldn't even finish the sentence, and he lit it up, and you're like, "Oh, I guess he's not done." So yeah.
I'm excited to see what happens. Allen Lazard might be back out there. I think that is a little bit of a boost to his fantasy stock if that's the case. A lot of questions, though, there, I think, in Green Bay. What's going to happen with this Packers receiving core? Can someone make a play and step up? We shall see. We shall see with the Bears as well. Can Cole Kmet make a play? I've been getting attacked all week for writing off Cole Kmet already. His mom's on our Instagram. She still won't accept our follow request. I don't know why. But Miss Kmet, This is my next plea.
Mrs. Komet is mad at you? Uh-oh.
Yeah, she liked the post.
She likes our post. Yeah, she likes our post. I mean, I did say to fade her son in fantasy, so I understand the post. But yeah, it happens. Moving forward here, though, what about Derek Carr home versus the Titans? I highlighted Derek Carr in my start sit and Seth column yesterday. I think Carr Oh, I said home versus the Titans. Excuse me. That is not correct at all. Who is he home against? Nate, I apologize.
They're home against the Cardinals.
Thank you. Yeah, home against the Cardinals. The Cardinals were lit up last weekend by Patrick Mahomes. I think Derek Carr has better weapons here. Going with Darren Waller, Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow. I think they'll expose a bad Cardinals defense once again here. I think I have to send out Derek Carr as a top 12 QB play this week. Mike, are you on board with that?
I mean, I honestly think if you don't have one of the big six, Derek Carr is every week start. Like, I don't know how with that array of weapons and like the need most weeks they're gonna have to score like a lot, like
Right.
and just his ability level and what he's shown as a fantasy QB like in years past. Like, yeah, I would start him. Yeah, if you don't have the Allen or Herbert or Mahomes or Jackson or Murray or Hurts, how do you not? Who do you have that's better than Carr? Like a week in and week out, he's a start for me for sure.
I love that. Nate, are you on board with Carr here as well?
Yeah, everything Michael said, like just the weapons, and their running back room's so muddy still. I mean, Josh Jacobs just isn't getting a ton of volume. You've got Brandon Bolden getting a carry here and there. They're going to throw the ball a lot. Derek Carr, I mean, just on volume, this guy should be scoring points.
Okay. Last one here, and this guy's a sit for me, actually, surprisingly, here in week 1. Matt Stafford is at home versus the Falcons. I just can't trust Matt Stafford, guys. I don't know if it's the offensive line that scares me, the no chemistry with Allen Robinson that scares me. And the Falcons, through 3 quarters last week, they shut down Jameis Winston. AJ Terrell looks like a guy out there. I'm a little concerned. They got home 4 times on Jameis Winston with a better offensive line than the Rams. I don't think I can start Matthew Stafford here in week 2. Mike, what say you?
Again, he's right on the bubble for me, but I guess I'm with you. I would lean. He's got to show me something, after last week before I'm ready to sort of like start with confidence, like on Stafford. Also, I mean, I don't know if anyone else noticed this, but that very last throw last week was an awful throw. This rainbow, it looked like it slipped out of his hands. Yep. And then there was some talk about as he's coming off, it's like the last shot before they do the wrap up. You see him say something like, I can't throw that ball. I can't hold the ball. And I'm not 100% on his health. Frankly, I'm not sure where he's at. So you have better options I'm with you, Seth. It's a sit most likely.
It's sad. It's only week 2, but we're already kind of questioning him. And I don't want to compare this at all, but when Big Ben started to have the elbow issue, Big Ben went down hard. So let's keep an eye on that. Let's see what we see here in week 2.
Yeah, I certainly hope he's not there yet. Like that would be bad. That would be like a rapid sort of decline. I just think he may not be 100% based on what we were hearing that last sort of month of training camp and like looking at some of the throws he made last week.
Nate, we sat here a week ago questioning Matthew Stafford and everything we're talking about. Has your tune changed looking back at the game at all in the last week?
Look, Buffalo's got maybe the best defense in the league right now.
Fair.
They got at Matthew Stafford. Von Miller was just terrorizing him. If he wasn't sacking him, he was getting him under pressure. Their corners are phenomenal. It was his first game with Allen Robinson. And I would disagree. I still think that the Rams line is better than the Falcons. And I think that he's probably a little embarrassed getting throttled on Thursday Night Football to open the season. And this Falcons defense just isn't that good. I mean, you can't compare New Orleans and LA. You just can't. And I think that Stafford's going to bounce back. I think this is a guy I'm starting him everywhere I have him this week. It's not even a question.
Okay. Nate's calling for an electric bounce back possibly from Stafford here in week 2. Mike and I do not agree with that. Before we keep going, guys, let's go ahead and answer a question here. What's up, guys? PPR pick 3, Brandon Ayuk, Hunter Renfrow, David Montgomery, Kareem Hunt, and Zeke. Okay, so a lot of good options here. A lot of mediocre options, I should say. No one's really jumping off the board. For me, there's only one that's a slam dunk, and it's Kareem Hunt this week. Mike, where would you lean here?
I guess because it's PPR, I'd go with, I agree, Hunt, and then 2 of either Ayuk, Renfrow, Monty. I guess Ayuk, Renfrow, and Hunt is what I do there, I guess.
Okay.
Same.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard to trust Zeke right now is what I'll tell Smokey the Cat. Just super tough to trust him with the Cowboys, no Dak. So I probably agree with you guys. I think I would probably still go Monty over Ayuk just because I don't trust Trey Lance's arm right now. But I'm also a closeted Monty stan, so nothing surprising here. Let's go ahead and move forward to the running back discussion, guys. Cordell Patterson. He is playing the Rams after a very brilliant week 1 performance on the ground from him that we don't normally see. I think you got to throw him back out there. The Rams, they averaged or let Devin Singletary average over 5 yards per carry. Cordell Patterson averaged over 5 yards per carry. We don't know the status of Damian Williams right now. He hadn't practiced all week up until Thursday, I believe. Tyler Algier was a healthy scratch. Nate, can you trust Cordell Patterson here in week 2 in your lineups?
Well, if you're struggling with whether or not to start Cordell Patterson, you're probably starting Cordell Patterson if that's the position you're in. His upside's there. He was running back 4 last week. Phenomenal. This is the time to play Cordell Patterson because when we get to week 13, 14, 15, you know that he's going to start to fall off, right, just like he did last season. So, yeah, I mean, play him now, and I'm pretty confident in this matchup he'll do well.
Mike, you rolling with it?
For sure, yes. And just in from Mr. Scampers, Williams is out apparently. So there it is. Okay. His principal competition for touches is gone. He had a very nice week. The next guy up, as you mentioned, Tyler Algier, was healthy but wearing street clothes last week. So obviously they love him. Like there's just no reason to think that they're not going to run like most of their offense through Patterson. Like, it's not an amazingly great matchup, but like you probably don't, if you're talking about a flex or, your first or second flex, you probably don't have a better option this week than Cordell. Is it Cordell or Cordarrelle? Cordero than Cordell Patterson. Like I think he's probably a pretty strong start for if you've got him on your roster and you're at that point.
Now I'm wondering, is it Cordero?
You can't spell it, you can't say it, but you can start him this week. Cordell Patterson, guys. Let's move forward. Jeff Wilson Jr. home versus the Seattle Seahawks here. No Elijah Mitchell for the next couple months. It's going to be Jeff Wilson Jr. Nate, we highlighted Tyrion Davis-Price as possibly a nice free agent find this week as well. Can you trust JWJ versus the Seattle Seahawks here? I'm a little skeptic for one. Last time we saw Jeff Wilson Jr. on the field, he wasn't super efficient with that, but it is the Seattle Seahawks. It's a decent matchup, I feel like. And we know the weather might be a factor there in San Francisco. Mike, can you roll out Jeff Wilson Jr. here?
I cannot. I just can't. I just don't see it. I feel like it's facts that San Francisco doesn't think of him as a bell cow or an every down guy. This kid Mason is going to get run. This undrafted agent who showed something in preseason. You mentioned TDP. Lance is going to run the ball. Debo is going to run the ball. There's no way he's your best bet, like on your roster. Look again, people. Look again. There's got to be someone better. I don't love it. And now he's gonna go off because I'm the guy who starts Allen Robinson last week. So like.
Put yourself in a hole.
Everything with a grain of salt, but he's a sit for me for sure.
Nate?
Yeah, same. I don't like these running backs. I like the running backs on this team when it's Elijah Mitchell, and when TDP starts getting heavier volume, I really like how he fits into this offense. But I don't like Jeff Wilson. And I don't think Denver just didn't run the ball super well against Seattle. It appears their run defense might be better than we thought. If they're going to beat that run defense, it's not going to be with Jeff Wilson. It's going to be with Trey Lance. It's going to be with Debo Samuel.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you guys. Again, if you are new to the show here and you want to drop us a question here, feel free to drop that in the question. Mike, Nate, and I, we will sure to get to your start sits, trade questions, whatever you guys have for us here. Let's move forward to the Patriots running backs, though. They're going to Pittsburgh here. I'm kind of hands-off on the entire New England offense right now until further notice. I think Ramondre Stevenson might have a tick of upside now that Ty Montgomery is rolled out of this one. Outside of that, though, I don't know. I don't want to trust them. It's not a sexy play, Ramondre Stevenson, but maybe I could roll him out. Nate, I know you've always been a Ramondre Stevenson guy. Putting your bias aside, can you roll him out here down in Ayrshire Stadium?
No, I can't this week. The only running back I really like on this team right now is Damian Harris because I think he's going to see more of the volume. We'll talk again in week 8. But there's a lot I need to see in this offense because I really liked Devontae Parker too, but it's not there right now. I think that what concerns me most about New England is the play calling because we don't have if Matt Patricia's the guy calling plays, he's a defensive coordinator. He shouldn't be calling plays. Bill Belichick is a defensive guy. Why is he calling plays?
Joe Judge is a special teams coach. Yeah. So
right.
Too many question marks here. Mike, obviously the back is an issue possibly with Mac Jones. It looks like he's going to go in this one, though. Can you trust either Damian Harris or Ramondre?
I agree with everything you guys said, except I can't start Damian Harris like ever. I don't think.
Yeah,
I don't play in any like standard scoring leagues. So like you got to catch some passes. Like, first of all, I would love to start Ramondre, but again, Nate's 100% on that. Like this is not the week. Like he needs to start showing it. Montgomery going down. That's good for Stevenson. But yeah, and touching on I don't trust that offense, the play calling. I don't know what the hell they're doing. I don't know if they're good at it. It looks like they're not. So this is a hands-off situation. Seth, you're 100% right. I wouldn't start either guy, but going forward, I disagree with Nate. I have more confidence and optimism for Stevenson than I do for Harris.
Long term, I absolutely do. Ramondre Stevenson is the man. I think he's my most rostered running back, actually.
We have a question here from Axis Minx, I think is how you pronounce that. I get James Conner, Jalen Waddle. Okay, so we're going dynasty here. This is a dynasty question. I get James Conner, Jalen Waddle, a 2nd, 3rd, and a 9th. And he gets Jonathan Taylor, Dotson, a 7th, 8th. Okay, so 16 and 6. Okay, so this is like a
two keeper PPR.
Okay. Yep. We're going keeper PPR here. So he's getting James Conner, Jalen Waddle, 2nd, 3rd, and 9th. I'm going to be honest. I don't ever feel good about giving up Jonathan Taylor. I get you're getting a lot of value for next season. If you're trying to punt this season away, Axis, then I understand it. But I don't think I can give up the number 1 running back, even though you're getting, a really good receiver and a really good running back. Mike, and any thoughts on this one here?
I don't do this. I mean, to me, the stumbling point is sort of Connor versus Taylor. If it's something like Mixon instead of Connor, then I think about this. I just think that downgrade at running back is too big. I do like getting those higher draft picks, but it's just, I agree, Seth. You can't give up JT right now in a keeper league. Like that's not recommended. Would not recommend. 1 star.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. No.
That is a low Rotten Tomato score is what Mike is telling you there, guys. Another one from Ryan here. Afternoon, Ryan. Afternoon, everyone. I have a question. I have Curtis Samuel and Michael Thomas. Trying to figure out which one to put in my flex spot. Any advice? I'll go out and right now I will say I do love Curtis Samuel this week. He was peppered with targets. He's going up against Detroit, who, while they did hold Devonta Smith and Quez Watkins in check, A.J. Brown went all over them. Yards after the catch, they gave a ton to the Eagles last week, and I think that's where Curtis Samuel makes his doing here. So I love Curtis Samuel, but Michael Thomas is a really solid option here in week 2. Mike, where do you lean?
For me, it's Thomas for sure. The Hall of Fame best receiver in the league seemed to maybe have emerged again, like in the second half last week. And it's like, okay, it was Samuel had a nice game, but Dotson also had a nice game. And Terry McLaurin is the undisputed wide receiver 1. Like there's just a lot more target competition. And until Michael Thomas stops doing what he did like last week in week 1, I think you got to start him. Like that's my call on that.
Mike's right. You have to. And guys, remember, Carson Wentz threw four touchdown passes last week. He looked decent. That's not going to happen every week. We know what Wentz is. He's an up and down option at quarterback. He's someone you can't necessarily trust all the time. It was great that Curtis Samuel went off last week. I don't trust him to do it again, even against Detroit. Michael Thomas, however, is Michael Thomas. And if he's hot and he's got a gunslinger with Winston, I think this guy's a points hog all season if he stays on the field.
As a guy who owns a lot of Olav, I'm a little annoyed frankly.
Yeah.
I know, me too. And some Landry peppered in there as well.
But I'm glad to see him back, like just because I love
Yeah.
watching great football players do their job. So,
Absolutely.
but still, save some for
Absolutely.
Olaf, can't you?
Just a little.
just a
Just a little.
Last one here for you guys. Before we let Mike go and continue his renovations today. Amari Cooper home versus the Jets. Do we have any confidence in Amari Cooper? It was a bad week 1 performance from him. The best highlight he made was trying to make a defensive play on a ball. So I'm a little skeptic to start Amari. I don't think I can, but it is a pretty nice matchup against the Jets. Nate, where do you lean here?
Well, no, I don't like it. Carolina's not that great. They were without J.C. Horn for most of the game, I believe. I don't think, as long as Jacoby Brissett's the quarterback there, I don't think that we're going to see much out of Amari Cooper. So maybe week 12 you start playing him, but it's going to be real hard to start even against the Jets for me.
Mike?
Yeah, no, he's a no for me as well. A lot of the same reasons. I think that, again, the Jets, it's at first sort of like, oh, that's an attractive matchup. But then you're like, well, they're very likely to be able to get it done with their bread and butter. And their bread and butter is Hunt and Chubb.
Yes,
I have
sir.
zero confidence in Brissett's ability to throw to the outside. The only positive, and this is kind of a backhanded negative, actually, is that Cooper is a complainer. And when he doesn't get what he feels is like his share of targets,
yes,
he complains. And then if you don't placate him, he starts playing at less than 100%. So he may get fed a few more shots than he really should, but he's still a sit for me. And I'm sorry, I apologize because I know the Cooper people are going to be like, you suck, dude. He is good. So
hey, I understand.
I apologize for saying those mean things about Amari Cooper. He's a sit for me.
Okay. One more question before you go, Mike. Would y'all trade D-Hop? Cash is asking us on YouTube. Would you trade D-Hop and Kadarius for D-Hop and he's saying Julio and Darnell Mooney here. He put that in the next one. So Julio and Darnell Mooney for D-Hop.
Wait, Julio and Kadarius for D-Hop and Mooney. I think that's what he's saying.
Yes. Yep.
I don't think I'd make that deal.
I would much rather get D-Hop and Mooney than I like Kadarius Jones. I wouldn't do that. Unless you're getting D-Hop and Mooney, then I would do that.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're not. You're on the other end of that trade, so that's a no for me.
Yep, it's a no for me. Nate, I think we're in agreement here as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Well, we appreciate all the questions, Mike. We appreciate your time today, man.
Thank you for having me again. I love it here. Bring me back.
Yeah, we will actually plug you back in. Mike, any breaking news, anything that we should be on the lookout for you in the next couple months?
I mean, I've had a couple interesting. I got a few irons in the fire, but nothing, So yeah, that's an actor's way of saying no, not yet. But at least I'm. There's a few things that might happen. We'll see. I'll talk to you guys in a month or so, maybe, and maybe I'll have some good news. I hope everyone send me.
Good luck, man. Good luck.
Energy.
I don't think you need it, Mike. You absolutely crush it in everything you're in, dude.
I really do. So go ahead and send it. Don't listen to it. I need give me the luck. Give me the mojo.
We appreciate it, man. Where can we find you and best support you moving forward here, my friend?
I mean, you can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram and all those places. I don't really post a lot of pictures, but I'm on Twitter a lot. I wouldn't mind seeing and talking to all you guys and disagreeing about things. And then I had a run-in with the Saquon people. Look, Saquon people, I'm not saying it's not great. I'm just saying that, like, I was not ever in a position really to truly get him. I was in a league where I was first overall, and then I was in 2 auction leagues, and he went for, like, the price was bananas. So, like, but I never said, like, oh, he's not going to be good.
Right.
Or, like, the potential for him to be good isn't there. It's just that it was a high, to get him at where he was at cost. Like, this is my final at cost. I could see people being like, well, there are other factors, and I want to go. It's the 15th pick. It's my second pick overall. For most people, I'm going to go with this, but so far I'm wrong. And I love Saquon Barkley watching him play. So it's not a big L for me, but it's Sorry, I upset the Saquon.
Hey, man.
If I've learned two things about Twitter, it's one, don't say anything bad about an Eagles fan. That fan base will destroy you.
Yeah.
And the same goes for the Giants. They're brutal.
Yep.
Right. I feel that.
And Cole Kmet
No, wait,
will not.
hey.
Cole Kmet's mom will not
I hate
accept
Saquon.
your follow request.
Just for scampers. I helped you break the news about what's his name being out, about Williams being out, and now I'm getting,
Nobody's loyal around here. Nobody's loyal around here.
Well, Mike, we appreciate you, our friend. Have a great rest of your weekend here. We appreciate you joining us.
Good luck with me too. Let's get it done.
Thank you so much. Mike Stoyanov, everyone. We appreciate him. Awesome to see that. Nate, let's go ahead. We got a packed rest of the show for you. Let's go ahead and jump into some sure thing sleepers of the week, and we'll bring back a very special guest on the other side.
Let's go.
It's the sure thing. Sleepers of the week.
All right, Nate. Sure thing sleepers of the week. I will say last week our sleepers not so great. AJ Green, Randall Cobb, they fell flat, but the process was there. It just happened that Greg Dortch and some other nobodies stole the show. But let's go ahead and jump into some sure thing sleepers of the week. And to do this, we're going to bring on a very special friend of the show, a man who's helped me mightily in my career. I know he's helped you as well, Nate. Helped so many people, just not even just in their careers, but with fantasy advice over the years. The legend himself. He's the managing editor of FantasyPros, Betting Pros, and the host of the oh so great Fitz on Fantasy podcast, my friends. He's a Wisconsin native and a great time in the making. Pat Fitzmaurice. What's up, Pat?
Gentlemen, Seth and Nate, so good to see you guys again. Last I saw your smiling faces, we were up to no good late night in Canton, Ohio, causing trouble. So it's great to see you guys under slightly more sober circumstances.
Yeah, that was a night, man. That was a night. That was a good time.
Pat, how is the season starting off for you, my friend? Like you said, it has been a minute since we've seen each other.
Yeah, it was okay. It was about a 500 week one in fantasy, but it was a really good betting week. I will say that. I somehow managed, I think I'm in like 4 survivor pools and didn't lose a team yet.
There you go.
That was good. And, I gave out 7 various picks, sides, totals, and player props on our Sunday morning Betting Pros live stream and went 7-0 last week. So flying start on the betting side, fantasy to be determined.
There you go. Yeah, I saw you were on the Giants as well. I had a couple. I had the money line on the Giants a little bit, and I think you rode that as well.
Yeah, that worked out. I know you guys were just talking about Saquon Barkley. So, great to see him looking like his old self. In my last draft of the year, I got him in, I drew the 16th pick in a 16-team league, and Saquon was still sitting around at 16. So I started Saquon Diggs. And still managed to lose in week 1 somehow. Bad week to go against Justin Jefferson.
How about it?
I think that's going to be every week this season.
Yeah,
probably.
If you don't have him, you wish you did. Pat, what did you think of the Thursday night football game? First time Prime Video experience for you.
It was interesting. I had I have a lot of takeaways. Like maybe Clyde Edwards-Helaire actually doesn't suck. I thought he did. Like we sometimes discount the possibility guys can get better during the course of their careers. I think we thought all these AFC West games were going to be like these huge shootouts, but and I know this disappointed some people that we didn't get that kind of a game last night, but these are 2 good defenses. The Chargers are freaking stacked on defense. I mean, Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa coming off the edges. I mean, the safeties they have. Derwin James, if that dude can stay healthy, what a difference maker he is.
Yes, sir.
J.C. Jackson, Asante Samuel, they can really cover. They got some great linebackers. Like, that D is stacked, man. And, anyone who thinks it's going to be a shootout matchup, like, get your guys into lineups against the Chargers, you might want to think twice about that.
Yeah, I mean, they'll probably likely be trailing if Justin Herbert can get himself upright this next game. And Pat, what a dog this guy Justin Herbert is. Could barely even run on 3rd and 1, just threw it away, and then comes out and drops an absolute bullet. If you had the Chargers against the spread, you were a happy fan, and you'll probably never forget that moment.
Yeah, I had the Chiefs against the spread, unfortunately. So that was a tough one. And I was going against Herbert and Josh Palmer in the Scott Fish Bowl. So that was a tough final minute for me. But yeah, man, Herbert was tough. Just obviously, could barely stand up with those ribs. And then for him to just, come out and march the team right down. Turned out to be, almost a meaningless touchdown. They almost got the onside kick. But, that guy's a fighter.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Matthew Stafford.
Young Matthew Stafford.
For
sure, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's gritty, man. I love to see it. Kind of reminds me of when I first got into football. Big Ben and those guys, I mean, they would just take shot after shot and continue to go through the game. Justin Herbert, I love watching the guy. I'm excited to see what happens next. But we do have a Sunday slate, fellas. And Pat, before we get to our Sure Thing Sleepers of the Week, we have a question if that's all right for you.
Sure.
So looks like Trey here. Hey, Trey, how you doing? Good to see you today. A couple of questions for you, gents. Full PPR pick 2, Judy, Michael Thomas, A-Rob, or Tyler Boyd. This one's a slam dunk for me. What do you say, Pat?
Yeah, Judy and Michael Thomas. Judy with the good matchup against Seattle. Judy is against the Texans. Mm-hmm. Still a pretty good matchup. And hard to tell what the packing order is going to be with the wide receivers there. I was kind of more of a Judy guy than a Sutton guy. I know that was a minority opinion for much of the offseason. But we saw him hit the big play in week 1.
Yep.
And I was just kind of surprised neither of those guys was targeted as much as in a game where Denver was throwing as much as they did. I thought those guys would see more targets. And I do think we'll see them targeted a little more or at a higher percentage this week. So Michael Thomas, he played kind of limited snaps in week 1, but he still scored 2 touchdowns. They'll probably boost the snap count a little. And if he works out of the slot against the Buccaneers, I didn't see the percentages for week 1, the slot percentages for him and Landry. But you want to be the slot guy against the Buccaneers because they have 2 pretty good outside corners. And they're really sketchy inside. Bunting Murphy is a guy you want to attack, and he didn't even play that much. They were playing safety Antoine Winfield Jr. in the slot last week. I mean, he's a safety. That's kind of a mismatch if he's going up against either Thomas or Landry. So, I'm pushing Thomas into that. Really hesitant on A-Rob. And again, he's going to be on the outside. It's kind of the same thing with the Falcons. They've got 2 good outside cornerbacks. I don't really want to jam him in there. And last I saw, I think T. Higgins is on track to play, so that kind of negates the Tyler Boyd interest for me.
Man, talk about T. Higgins coming back quickly off the concussion. You love to see that from a fantasy perspective. Hopefully he's okay up there in the noggin as well. Nate, are you in agreement with Pat on this first question from Trey here?
I am. The only thing that concerns me slightly is he only took 6 snaps out of the slot last week, 31 wide. Hopefully they move him more into the slot. I mean, slant boy. We got to have him in the slot. But yeah, I think either way, Michael Thomas is better than A-Rob or Tyler Boyd, especially with T. Higgins coming back. I hope we get to see A-Rob more in the fold, but I don't think it's this week.
Yep, agreed. And his second question here from Trey, A-Rob, ETN, Michael Thomas, or Kareem Hunt. He needs 2. It's Michael Thomas, Kareem Hunt for me pretty easily. Yep. Pat, do you differ at all there?
Nope, same here.
Okay, all right. And guys, let's go ahead and fire out our Sure Thing Sleepers of the Week. Pat, I want to start with you. It's your first time on the segment. Can you beat Nate and I this week with your Sure Thing Sleeper? When we were talking about it a little beforehand, it was a name I hadn't heard in a very long time.
Yeah, I was trying to choose between 2 tight ends, and the runner-up here is going to be Kylan Granson from the Colts, who I kind of like. But the guy settled on was Harrison Bryant, who he played a 50% snap share in week 1, had 4 targets, 2 catches, I believe. He's going up against a Jets defense that gave up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends last year. And I'm starting to wonder, we know that the Browns are going to play a lot of 12 personnel. They're going to have 2 tight ends on the field quite a bit.
Yep.
Actually, I'm surprised that Bryant only played a 50% snap share in week 1. And I just wonder, Bryant is a pure pass catcher, and Njoku is actually a really good blocker. So I wonder if maybe Harrison Bryant is running more routes than Njoku on a weekly basis. And, we know the Browns don't have a lot of firepower at wide receiver. We know Jacoby Brissett isn't very good, so I wonder if maybe he tries to make, easier throws in between the hashes. And we have seen in Jacoby Brissett's 2 nearly full seasons as a starter with the Colts, Jack Doyle had 80 receptions and 72 receptions in those 2 seasons. So this is a guy who likes throwing to his tight ends. And if Njoku is blocking a lot, like maybe that guy is Harrison Bryant.
I like it. I like it a lot. Every time, like, there's been a couple times the last couple years in like some Scott Fishbowl leagues or some other deeper lineups, I've had to throw out Harrison Bryant, and he does always have a little bit of touchdown upside. We haven't seen it in a long time, but if there is a Browns pass catcher that, you can feel all right about, I guess not all right because this is the sure thing sleepers, but, a guy you can throw in there if you need someone at tight end, Harrison Bryant might not be a bad option there for you. I like that, Pat.
What about you guys?
Yeah, Nate, what do you got for us here, brother? Can you redeem yourself off the old Randall Cobb call last week?
Look, I still say it was a good call. It just didn't work out because week 1 was a weird week. I'm going with Devin Duvernay this week. I know he only got 4 looks, but he caught all 4 looks, and his PFF grade on deep balls, 20-plus, was, I think, 90-something last week. He can be that deep threat for Lamar Jackson. Rashad Bateman's still there too, but we saw Duvernay catch those 2 deep balls. I think that trend continues. He might only get 4 targets, but if he can catch 1 of those for a touchdown or 2 of those for a touchdown, as a solid flex play this week, I don't hate it.
Yeah, I mean, I won't call it a solid flex play, my friend, but it is.
I think it could be a very solid flex play. I'll put it that way.
We need to see more volume from Duvernay. So, like, if you did grab him off the waiver wire, I think he can stash him. You can see what happens this week. But I think the one thing to think about is his true catch rate was great. He was good in contested catches. Looked at times almost better than Rashad Bateman here in week 1. Pat, any thoughts on Duvernay? Because I know this is really one where the industry's a little bit split just because of the week 1 usage.
Yeah, I mean, the usage was not clearly pointing to him being like a great season-long guy, but I do think he's a guy who's going to pop now and again because this dude has like crazy speed. Like Devin Duvernay has track speed. He's one of the fastest guys in the NFL without a doubt. And we were kind of wondering who might be that other guy who sort of comes out of the fog to be like the complementary receiver to Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews, and Duvernay, James Prochet, Tylan Wallace. Likely, who was getting a lot of August buzz, but really didn't show up in week 1. So maybe it's Duvernay, and when in doubt, bet on the fast guy.
Yeah, he's kind of yoked too, honestly. Like I was kind of looking at it, like just we were kind of diving in a little bit. I was like, man, he looks bigger out there than I initially thought he was coming out of college. So, Nate, I like the call, man. The upside's there. We saw it in week 1. The Dolphins, I do think they have a good secondary. They do have a good defense. But if you're expecting a little bit of a competition here on offense, and we know with Lamar Jackson, he's going to be motivated to go out there. I like Devin Duvernay.
They're going to have to score points. Miami can score. So,
yep, the first real test for the Ravens. We shall see how that goes. For my sure thing sleeper of the week here for you guys, I'm going to pull out a name that I've kind of been tailing this guy for a couple years now. I've always been a fan, and that is Zay Jones of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I think part of this is just the game and the sketchy situation with the Colts. They're going to Jacksonville. They haven't won there in, I think, 8 years now? 2014 was last time. And I think Trevor Lawrence is going to go out there with a lot to prove. He had an okay week 1 performance, 24 for 42, nothing too crazy. But he did look Christian Kirk's way a lot. He did look Zay Jones' way a lot. And Zay Jones, 23.7 target percentage for him, target share for him in week 1. And he also had 100% true catch rate on those 9 targets. So against a game where the Colts defense, on paper, they look great, but they let Davis Mills have a pretty clean day in week 1. So if you need a wide receiver out there in week 2, I think Zay Jones is one that he's not going to light the world on fire, but I don't think he's going to leave you with nothing. Expect about 10 PPR points, maybe a little more for him if you need him this week.
That's a solid call. I don't hate it. I don't like Jacksonville much, but Zay Jones had, like you said, he had 9 targets last week. He's clearly going to be involved in this offense. Chase the volume.
Still sub 10% owned too in ESPN, which I thought was surprising, Pat.
Yeah, he is a guy I have been slow to come around on, but I'm starting to see the light a little thanks to people like you, Seth, and Matt Friedman, who I know has been in on Zay for a while. Like, he's a legit player, and I know he was kind of off the radar for a while. He was going through some mental health things a couple years ago, but, like, this dude's pretty talented, and I'm anxious to see him do that thing where he levitates when he gets off the ground after a tackle. We haven't seen that for a couple of years, so I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. The more involved he is.
Absolutely. And Pat, do you have time for a quick question here from Mr. Scampers in the chat?
Oh, for Mr. Scampers, of course.
Awesome. Mr. Scampers asking, half PPR here, Pat, Darrell Henderson versus Atlanta or Gabe Davis versus Tennessee?
I'm going with Davis. I can't take that dude out of the starting lineup. I know he only had 5 targets in week 1, but, obviously he had that big touchdown catch on sort of the misdirection play. But what you have to like is that he played pretty much every snap and was running routes on basically every drop back for Josh Allen. So the usage was pretty exciting despite the 5 targets.
Right.
I like him. I like the matchup against Tennessee. It was promising to see Henderson used the way he was in week 1 if you're a Henderson investor. Not so promising if you're an Akers investor like I am in some cases. But we don't know what that's going to look like going forward. Henderson's clearly either the guy or at least 1A for now. But that offensive line didn't look very good in week 1. So even though he got the bulk of the snaps and touches in the backfield, it didn't really lead to much for him in week 1. And I'm worried that's going to be the case maybe pretty often for these Rams backs, at least in the early going.
Completely agree with you, man. And I've honestly taken this opportunity to sell Darrell Henderson this week. I sold him in a couple plays, a couple dynasty leagues. I can't trust the health really long term. I don't know what the backfield situation is going to be. And if Cam Akers does become the guy, we haven't really seen a 50-50 split in the Rams backfield in quite some time. It's only about an 80%, 20% backfield split when there is a guy. So, Nate, are you on board there with Pat and I?
Yeah, I was down on Gabe Davis, but I liked what I saw Thursday night. I think that trend continues. He's going to be involved enough in this offense. And Darrell Henderson, this backfield is so muddy, so many in the league. Darrell Henderson might get 3 carries this week. He might get 20. We don't know.
I think he's still, you're still probably looking somewhere between 10 and 15. But
sure,
you're right, Nate. It is an unpredictable backfield. Sean McVay is someone we can't take his word much, especially when it comes to the RBs. Yep. All right, guys. Well, that will about do it for us today. Pat, can you tell us, please, where our listeners, where our viewers can find you and best support you throughout the 2022 season?
Yeah, absolutely. Nate, Seth, thank you so much for having me on. It's always great to talk to you guys. People can find me on Twitter at Fitz_FF. They can find all my stuff at FantasyPros.com and check out the weekly Fitz on Fantasy podcast.
Awesome. Well, Pat, we appreciate you, man. Keep crushing it over there at Fantasy Pros and on the podcast. We'll be sure to catch you soon. IBT fam, have a great week 1. Connor and I will be back with some DFS and some betting advice here on Sunday morning, 11:30 to 12:30. So make sure you guys check us out then. Until then, guys, keep it in between and have a great week 2. Let's go. Your destination for both some feel-good lifestyle advice and some fantasy football advice.